Fearing Russia will seize her town, war widow moves husband's grave to Kyiv. The quiet of a Kyiv cemetery is broken by a trumpet salute, then a burst of rifle fire. Soldiers stretch a Ukrainian flag over a shiny wooden coffin and stand silently alongside in the sparkling white snow. A woman cries, her face crumpling. Vitaly was killed 3 years ago fighting in the eastern Donbas, and his first grave was in their hometown of Slovyansk. But Russian forces have advanced since then and the area is increasingly under attack. So Natalia had her husband's grave exhumed and Vitalys' remains moved hundreds of miles to Ukraine's capital. When we buried him in Slovyansk, land was being liberated and we thought the war would soon end, Natalia explains, after the reburial ceremony conducted with military honors. But the front line is constantly moving closer and I was scared Vitaly might end up under occupation. Vitaly was a ceramics artist who volunteered to defend his country in the early days of Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. He didn't want to, but he'd do it. He was a patriot, Natalia explains, through her tears. She was pregnant when her husband was killed and he never got to meet their daughter. The decision to move Vitaly's body from the land where he was born and fought was extremely painful. It was very hard, emotionally. But it was the right decision, Natalia is sure. It would have been far harder to leave him, to know that he had stayed. Ukrainians are facing unimaginable choices now as the US tries to broker a peace deal between Moscow and Kyiv, but Russia pushes on with its invasion. That includes massive aerial attacks against Ukraine's energy system, against all rules of war. At some point, the USL talks will hone in on the most sensitive issue of all, the status of land in the eastern Donbas region that so many men have died defending. Ukraine still controls around a fifth of the area, including Slovyansk. But the town is close to the current front line where Russian forces have been trying to push forward for months. Kyiv proposes freezing the fighting there, ceding nothing more. But Moscow wants to be handed control over the rest of the region and the US is thought to agree. That is far from Vladimir Putin's original plan to take over all Ukraine to denazify and demilitarise as he snarled at the time. But it would allow him to claim a victory for Russia of sorts. There are drones in the streets, hitting minibuses, and glide bombs fall in the city center, leaving craters, Natalia says, describing life in Slovyansk now, where her husband had been buried. North of Natalia's hometown, up around the city of Kharkiv, there are more signs that the danger zone is spreading. Workmen hammer stakes into the frozen ground to fit nets which they'll then stretch over the road in a canopy as protection against Russian drones. Not far away, in an unmarked spot, we visited a workshop for Ukraine's own UAVs. The soldiers of the Typhoon unit work in a basement filled with heaps of kit and cables, reached via a handmade wooden staircase. The men are responsible for repairing drones damaged at the front line and for innovation. Ukraine needs every chance against an enemy with more men and more resources. The music playing as the teamwork is chirpy French pop, but the soldiers' mood is mixed. We try not to discuss it here, 29-year-old Roman replies, when I ask about giving up territory in return for peace. People quarrel and we don't need that right now. We need to unite and fight the Russians. Roman lost a lot of guys, he says, during his 2 years in the infantry, fighting in the Donbas. No surprise that it's far harder to recruit these days. Last month the country's defense minister revealed that a staggering 200,000 soldiers were absent without leave. But like many Ukrainians, Roman is sure that gifting the Donbas to Putin would not make Ukraine secure. Hunched over a laptop in the back room, another soldier admits that victory in this war looks